principal of Trinity College, the leadership of the school, the guest of honor, my beloved wife, who has already, for the first time in her life, come to Trinity, fellow Trinitians, parents, students, and well-wishers from different schools, different movements. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, I reflect 25 years, and I am grateful that the gentleman who wrote my speech 25 years ago, and at the same time the family who was like a strong pillar of my growth, is today present over here, Mr. Aftab Jamil, and the Kampiya itself, the next generation who basically was the Kampiya. So what a momentous moment apart from coming back to Trinity. Well, let me reflect not merely on the fact of me as the president or a former president 25 years ago at the Islamic Students Movement, but reflect to you what Trinity was for me and my family. I believe, thanks to my paternal grandmother, who very craftfully refused to keep me at her residence, ended up that my father was told by my grandmother to basically put me in the hostel. So on the second term of 1983, I believe, I walked into the matron's dormitory, and from that point onwards, I basically lived my entire life at Trinity until the last few years that I was molded from a great family as well. So I think what is important at this juncture in our lives is that it is not our identity our religious identity, or who we are. But I believe it is beyond that. It is how we religiously live our life. Religiously living does not mean it is constrained to a particular belief or a faith, but is a set of disciplines that we build our lives with. From the age of 5, as a Muslim, we would call ourselves, just before we have our meals, we would say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But from the age of 5, there used to be a bell that you'll ring, and all the students used to stand at ease. And the matron, long years ago, Mrs. Bolton, used to say, for what we are about to receive, may the Lord be praised. And then we all sit, and then we eat. And at that moment, we were just 5 years. There was a particular table that used to, this particular table, no student ate until the matron comes round and stands in front of us. At that moment, she would come and say, on your marks, get set, ready, and go. And then we eat. And there used to be a fork and spoon, and by any chance, if I or anybody gets our hand knocked on the other person, there used to be a small cane that you'd go and tap ourselves to say, get your hands proper. This was at the age of 5. And every day, after every meal, there's a winner and a loser. And it is defined by who does not leave a single grain of rice. This was the discipline. I am grateful to my parents as well that these fundamentals were very, very clearly put in our heads. Being in the corporate world and being outside Trinity, you understand how painful it is to live, as well as how difficult it is in this current context. And it is important for us to understand and appreciate and value what we have. and what we are about. So if I bring this context to Trinity, for the ladies, the generation or the students from different other schools also, and for the Trinitians itself, understand the value of this school and its name, especially the logo. Let me reflect to you on the logo which you see in the front. Trinity stands, the name Trinity, amongst any other school in this country or in the world. I do not meant to make it as an elite statement, but it is the pinnacle of life. From the faith of the Christianity, the foundations of Trinity, and as the principal stated, how we value diversity. The word Trinity is at its pinnacle. And Trinity stands for three. If you take the world of sport, the Olympics, it fundamentally develops the three elements of a human being, which is the body, the mind, and the heart, or the willingness to succeed, willingness to thrive, willingness to change. If you take the fundamentals of what we think about life, three is important. So the foundations that we hold as a Trinitian is that sometimes we need to appreciate where we come from. And if you take the lion for a change, the symbol, what I proudly wear on my blazer as well. Let's look at the animal, the lion. Just think about itself. The lion is not the strongest in the jungle. Neither it is the fastest, neither it is the biggest, neither it is the fastest or strongest in any other respect, but it still rules. The lion is the king of the jungle. How does it do that? It is disadvantaged in so many ways, but how does it do that? Because of the attitude of making sure it runs and it leads. When a lion sees an elephant, there is only one thing that it comes to its mind. It is lunch, nothing else. When an elephant, such strong, big, humongous animal, when it sees a lion, what do you think the elephant must be thinking? Oh my God, the eater. This is what it stands. So, when it comes to Trinity, we are not the biggest, we are not the largest, right? But we still rule. I think the Trinitians of then and now should understand the value of where we come from. The motto, respice finem, you look to the end constantly. Constantly. What is the end? I think I'll craft something of the gospel as well, is that it is very clearly mentioned, I believe, if I'm wrong, please correct me, Father, is that an army of sheep led by a lion has the potential to win against an army of lions led by a sheep. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're in the hallowed walls of a great institution that has molded people like ourselves and which is in the process of molding all of us and all of you. I believe it is important that the foundations that you have should be very, very embedded in something much deeper than what you see outside. So I think this drama which was shown was something of truth which is out there. I think as a community we are very much strongly rule-based, but we are not passionate-based. Our faith should guide us to empower us to be appreciating humanity in a much completely a different way, rather than stick on to our identity as a Muslim. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a Muslim? So, these are fundamental aspects 25 years from now, as I see, we need to embrace. There's a much larger cause for a much larger generational change that is expected. The corporate world is different. We still do not have the advantage. When I was a rugby player on my first year, I walked into the field knowing we are going to win. There was no question about it. I used to walk onto the field knowing how much points will we score. Never did we walk onto the field worrying that we will lose. None of the games. But today, our psychic is, are we going to win? That's the worry. It reflects to the parents as well. What values do you instill? What values do you bring to the table? And how much are you afraid that your sun will shine like a guiding light for the world, rather than be restricted on certain doctrines that you want to live by? So these are the fundamentals that Trinity was for us. Before I knew certain religious surahs, I knew the Dhammapada, Pansilpada, as well as the Lord's Prayer. Because from 5 years, just before we sleep, my secretary, 25 years ago, Friki Giardo, was a guy who used to be from age 5 at the boarding. So we used to write in a piece of paper in Arabic for the first time in our lives. You know that we used to write Allah, and we used to be like this. So that used to be at prayer time. But at the background, we see a larger student base reciting the Pansil Pada. So to this date, we know every word in that. We know every word in the Lord's Prayer. Sometimes I think my wife would agree that I need to improve my depth of my religious, groundings also. But the fact is that, what do we leave behind? What kind of vision do we have for our children? What is the vision for this program or this movement for the future? I am grateful my understanding for 5 times prayers did not come from my parents, but from a senior in the boarding who said in very subtle ways, Malli, go and pray, don't worry. Like this friend, the boy who was on the drama. In the hostel, the seniors used to keep the lights on for another 15-20 minutes so that I can walk to the toilet, take ablution and pray on my bed. The seniors used to do that. This was the culture. This is what it was, and this is what it should be. And as a message, last of all, it is important in this juncture that we appreciate what we have and what we hold precious to us. And that is yourself itself. If you do go through the souvenir, if you do get my message is very clear, is that it is important, today's world, if you take Facebook to everything, we like external validation of who we are, validated by others. And constantly, we do not validate ourselves as very, very powerful individuals on a mission to do something great with life we have. The life we have is very powerful. I think today, as we are facing what we are facing as a community and a country, I think this is a wonderful time. It is a wonderful time for us to open our eyes and to appreciate what we really have as family. Thanks to the power cuts, I believe families are getting much closer. There are conversations with fathers and daughters and fathers and sons in a much greater passion than before. Otherwise, everybody is too busy living a life. So these are important moments. Parents, we have shifted from being friends to our children than we are being providers. And there are enough and more examples with the youth that is affecting the future furtherance of a complete and a holistic individual coming through society, from society, to serve society. And this is important for us to think through it. So keep into the virtues of this school, keep into the virtues of the word Trinity, keep into the virtues of the emblem, the lion, keep into the virtues of the motto, Respice Finem. Let me leave with you one more Latin term, which is termed as cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. So this school will be thinking of it for the next generation, as it's 150 years celebrated this year. For the next 150 years is the thinking of all of you as a community. What do you think of? What do you think on? And what do you invest with? Which is going to be the differentiator for Trinity for the next generations to come. And I wish, and this would be the fate, for this community to go back home, think as a family, as individuals, to appreciate more about yourself, more about what you have, and to give something more for yourself as well as the community. Thank you very, very much for the president and the committee for giving me and my wife this great opportunity to walk to these hallowed walls of Trinity College, a place we grew up, like the principal said, from the pre-grade right up to where we are today. And these virtues have made us stronger. It has made us fall in life, not that it was always a bed of roses. We fell, we were beaten, it was tough, but something kept us going. And let me say, the words of a father was very important for me. In a situation like this, every time my father used to tell me he's no more, don't you ever look down no matter what, because you're a Trinitian. So I think we should live beyond this school, and we should expect to live beyond this school so that this school will attract the best out there. Thank you very much.